We're about halfway through the summer slate at the box office, and let's just say things aren't going the way Hollywood drew them up. I only see two movies having a chance of making it to $1 billion. The first one being Toy Story 5, and the second one being Spider Man Brand New Day. No, I do not believe the DEIDC is going to have any shot at $1 billion, and I will discuss that more after I've seen the movie this Thursday. But let's take a look at what happened at the box office this weekend. As you can see, Moana topped the charts with $43 million. However, I believe that's probably going to be adjusted down after we get past Monday. Usually these things trend in one direction, and Moana's been trending down, so I believe it will continue to do so. On top of that, the international box office was $52 million. I believe that is also going to come down, so we're probably looking at a worldwide more along the lines of 92, maybe 93. It definitely won't be 95, and I don't see it going up. And the huge problem for Disney here is the fact that this movie cost somewhere between 200 and 250 million. So its break even is probably going to be at least $700 million. And I see no chance in hell of it getting anywhere near that. So this movie is probably going to lose at least 150 million, if not 200 for Disney.
Oh no! What happened? Oh no! How terrible! That's just awful! How terrible! Oh no!
Indeed, what happened to the live-action Moana? I think it was poisoned by Moana 2. First of all, the movies are really close together. There's only about a year apart. Secondly, Moana 2 was supposed to be a series for Disney Minus, and Bob Iger wanted it off the books so he could show a profit. And basically, they kind of mushed it all together and made it into a movie, which, even though it made $1 billion, nobody really liked it. So when the live action came out so soon after that, everybody still had Moana 2 fresh in their minds, and they're not showing up at the box office to watch it. But let's move on and see what else is going on at the box office. Next, you've got Minions and Monsters. And it's actually had a pretty good hold, and that seems to be the pattern. I know the initial weekend was not that impressive, but the hold there actually is impressive. And now the worldwide is up to about 280. I believe this movie cost about 80 million to make. Double that in marketing. By next weekend, they should at least be breaking even, if not profitable. And we're going to scroll down here and we're going to look at the hold. Yeah, Friday, typical Friday, you had a 60% drop. That's because the first Friday incorporates at least the Thursday pre-screenings. And heck, even if they show it on like a Wednesday sometimes. But that's all incorporated into Friday. So, having a 60% drop is not unusual. However, what is unusual is they only had a 19% drop for Saturday, and 44 still isn't bad for Sunday. So this has actually been pretty good for them. Now we'll look at Toy Story 5, and it's at 879 million. Like I said, this is probably one of the two movies that are going to hit $1 billion. If you look at the weekend numbers, 58% drop for the third week is not that bad. And on Saturday, they only had a 6% drop, which is pretty amazing. And then Sunday, they had a 38% drop, and that's pretty good too. Overall, that's a really good hold for the weekend. You also notice it's still in over 3,500 theaters. And more importantly, if you look at the numbers per theater, they're still averaging on the weekends, that looks like about 1,700 per screening per day. Those are some really good numbers. You can't argue with that. And like I said, that's why this movie is more likely than not going to hit $1 billion and probably cruise past it. And boy, does Disney need that right now, because they've got to make up some huge holes that were made by the Blandalorian and Borgru and the crater that's going to be Moana. I'm going to skip down a couple of movies on the chart right now. I don't really want to talk about Young Washington or Evil Dead Burn, But what I do want to talk about is Obsession and Supergirl. As you can see here, Obsession beat Supergirl at the box office this weekend, even though it's been basically out 3 times as long as Supergirl. And let's look at the exact numbers for Obsession. It currently has a worldwide box office of 426 million, which is amazing. It is staggering that this movie only cost between $750,000 and $1 million to produce. That's just insane. Looking at the domestic weekend, we see on Friday it only dropped 41%. And on Saturday, it actually went up 2%. And then another great hold on Sunday, only a 32% loss. It's only showing basically in over, 2,000 theaters, 2,069. The numbers are definitely coming down per theater. But at this point, everything is completely and utterly gravy. And here is the Supergirl worldwide box office standing at $115 million. This movie is completely screwed. James Gunn should be fired. It's over. I don't care what Man of Tomorrow does. This is over. When the Ellisons get in, one of their first acts, I guarantee you, is going to be firing him. Here are the weekend holds for Supergirl. On Friday, it dropped 68%. On Saturday, it dropped 44%. And on Sunday, it dropped 60%. Now, it is showing in over 500 more theaters than Obsession, yet it is trailing Obsession's per theater intake by about 200 per day. That is just ridiculously bad. I mean, this movie is just trash. The people that stood up for it, they all ought to be just completely disregarded. They're just nothing but a bunch of shills. This is a horrible movie. I'm sorry I went and saw it. The only good parts about it were my churro donut with Tillamook vanilla ice cream and my ticket were free. That was about it. This movie was not good. It's not holding well at all. And I don't think it's going to crawl to 150 million. I think it's basically toast. Maybe 130 million. I'd be surprised if it does much more than that. It's just a ridiculously bad movie. And the only thing that's more ridiculous is the shills out there trying to defend it. The only people I really feel sorry for at this point are the theater owners. They were promised a much more summer blockbuster type thing, and they are not getting it. Listen, the DEIDC is probably going to make money for them. However, it is not going to make any money for Paramount. I think they're actually going to lose money on this. It may only be like $50 million, but when they thought this was going to be a $1 billion plus movie, hitting 700 million is not going to make them very happy. And then really the only thing you have to look forward to for the rest of the summer is Spider-Man Brand New Day. And of course, every indication seems to be that this movie is set for $1 billion plus, and that's going to be great for Sony. Please keep in mind that that is a Sony production. Sony is distributing it. All Disney gets is merchandising, maybe a very small cut, but it isn't going to help their box office woes whatsoever. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap up this video. So if you've not subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, please click the like button, share this out through social media, and leave comments in the comment section. And like my father told me when I was 18 years old, the free video's over. Get out.